Hey, what's up, guys? Books Nelson back again, and we're going to be talking about this courtside report, getting right into it. So this is the breakdown of basically everything, and we're going to get kind of deep. So this might be a longer end, videos for those of you who enjoy long form content and the deep dives. Buckle up because we're going to talk about it. All right. So first of all, like and subscribe. I got to start saying that at the top of videos. It's weird. I always was weirded out that people would be like 75% of the people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. I was like, that seems impossible, but here I am living that reality. So I got to be a YouTuber and ask you to please like and subscribe if you have not already. For those of you who have, thank you for the support, and let's keep it moving. All right into the content. So pro play. So we talked about this in the breakdown video of the trailer, but I think it's important to understand that what pro play actually is, right? Pro play is them using a new form of capturing animations that's not motion capture. Since we are not developers and we are not in there with their animation rigging and all of this other stuff, we cannot fully say how this is affecting gameplay if it was not just a more accurate mocap animation versus the pro play animation. It could very well be that the big difference between pro play and motion capture is that pro play gives them the ability to do way more animations and more signature animations. So that having been said, there is a danger with the pro play approach and even really the mocap signature animations approach versus a more arcade approach, which is this. If you come up with an arcade move, right, and you say, this is what we want crossovers to be like in the game, and you can even make 10, 50 different crossovers that are based off of how real life looks, but you're designing it from a video game standpoint, you're making that to be effective, right? Like I compare it to, say, Call of Duty. I'm sure a lot of you play some form of shooter. Call of Duty, Destiny, Apex, whatever. When you slide in those games, they're made specifically balanced around the abilities and the terrain in the game. Now, if they said we put pro play sliding animations from real life soldiers in the game, you might go, okay, but they're not shooting a real life assault rifle at me. They're shooting a Call of Duty assault rifle. So if I'm going to get a video game assault rifle shot at me, I need a video game escape tool, right? That, I think, is what people are objecting to. And that has nothing to do specifically, in my opinion, with how they're capturing the animations. It's more of the philosophy of how they're using the animations, right? Or what the animations are used for. Because if Steph Curry's crossover is this speed, that's just the speed it is. But if 99 overall lockdown or a Kawhi Leonard pink diamond card is guarding that Steph Curry card, you might be like, pro play sucks. I can't get around this Kawhi card. Well, that's because Kawhi's defense has nothing to do with pro play. Kawhi doesn't care. He's in a video game. You're the one in real life, right? So that doesn't mean pro play's bad and doesn't work or will never work. That means that we have to allow 2K to perfect their vision on both sides of the ball and then decide. Last year was the first draft of pro play, and it wasn't across the entire game. I guarantee you, I bet all my guitars, and I love my guitars, and I got like 7 of them. I bet all my guitars that 99.9% of the people who complained about pro play were complaining about animations that weren't even pro play half the time, right? And I pretty much guarantee that to you guys. So I apologize for that rant, but before we talk about pro play, we have to have some context, because the conversation around, this channel, the motto is elevate the conversation. The conversation around pro play has not been particularly elevated because people are very emotional when they don't get what they want in a competitive video game. They don't get the outcomes they want. So, people say, well, the dribbling is slow. It's because of the new pro play. No, there are plenty of non-pro play animations in the game that are terrible. And they've been in the game for years. So, okay, that having been said, There are 9,000 new pro play animations in 2K25, including 1,500 dribbling animations, 1,100 signature shot animations covering most rostered players. So almost everyone has their own signature shot now. Which, okay, so and again, this is going to be a deep dive. So if you don't like long videos, find some shallower content, because we definitely going deep today. We got to talk about this a little bit. So last year there were, this isn't a hard number, but let's say there were roughly 20 good shot bases last year. They just said they have 1,100 signature shot animations. How many of those shot animations are not competitive? This is very important for my team people, because as the year went on, I'll give you guys a great example. And this might be a little spoiler because I do want to make this a video. But I was thinking about the best gold cards in the game, right? And there's a lot of reasons to have good gold cards in the game. One of the best gold cards in the whole game, might be slept on because I've never seen anybody talk about them, is KCP. That KCP gold card is so much better than he has any right to be. Right? I think he's like 77 overall. He's fantastic. If you are grinding triple threat, 100% throwing KCP, because the card that they match him up with is going to be infinitely worse than him and make your games fast and easy. Why do I bring up KCP? Because his shot base is so good that he automatically was a serviceable card throughout the whole year. He would have been even better. I mean, really, if they made more KCP cards, but if he was just bigger, right? So you go to the players who have really good bases in the game. In my team, this dramatically affects what players are going to be good and not good. For instance, say Kevin Durant, somewhat of a niche card all year because his catch and shoot base is just not naturally fast. So this is the give and take with the pro play thing, particularly when it comes to shot. People talk a lot about the dribbles. Listen, every year people figure out how to make dribbling work. Every single year. There's never been a year where people have been like, oh, can't get past anybody. I guess this 2K sucks. It's just like not happened, right? But the shooting last year, for the first time in my personal recollection, I saw a situation where some cards all year, no matter what rating you gave them, in some cases, no matter how tall they were, they just could not play, right? This card is useless because his base is just not good enough. And I think in the shot animations is where the pro play actually hurts more players than in the dribbling animations. But and 1,300 new off the ball animations. So I don't know if they mentioned that, including 150 new signature motion styles. So I'm gonna keep it a buck. I haven't really felt the motion styles thing this year. Like, I've put different motion styles on different characters, played with a bunch of different cards, and gun to my head, I could not tell you what the difference is in game. Like, truthfully. And I played a lot of this game, and I really can't tell you so much about the motion styles. Dribble styles, yes, but motion styles, I don't know. The off the ball animations are very interesting, because one of the biggest problems, and we're going to get to AI because that is in the blog at some point. One of the biggest problems with the AI in this game is your AI guys simply do not have the animation data to move around screens. They will literally walk into a screen and just forget they're playing basketball, right? And that makes playing against the AI horrible, or playing with the AI horrible. It dramatically affects my team. There's so many situations where my team players will be playing the game and they're like, why did my guy just completely fall apart? And that's why the RNG in my team is so much higher than the RNG in my career and like Rec and Park. And even that is much higher than something like, say, Street Fighter or Overwatch, right? But in 2K, my team has the worst RNG in terms of like, I didn't lose because you're better than me, or I made mistakes. I lost because my computer decided to do crazy, stupid things. Like, I ran a play and they got a illegal screen off the ball. I'm just running a play. I just pressed the button to run a play. And I think part of the reason those things happen is that I'm sure there's complicated AI reasons, but some of it, if you look at the replay, it just looks like they didn't have the animation data to recover. And so many of the screen animations, they touch the grass, like they get a little screen. I mean, not even a real screen, it's a moving screen a lot of the time. And they just literally touch the earth and are sliding all over the floor. And it's like, why did that screen kill you so bad? So this, for my team people, could low key be some of the best news, because my team people really need the AI to be massively improved. Okay, we'll play this video. So this is what we talked about in the other thing. So the one thing I want to look at here is there's a lot of dribbling in place here, right? And it's funny because 2K has regulated stamina so much to be like, we don't want your dribbling in place. And then they buffed the steal button to be like, we don't want your dribbling in place. And then the entire new dribbling system is about dribbling in place. So I think dribbling in place is a good thing because it sets up your opponent. The problem is, as we discussed in the other video, this space that the AI is giving each other, a human's just not going to give you this space. They have no reason to. So the defense needs to be overhauled, both in terms of how the defense gets rewarded for running into you, and in terms of how powerful the steal button is versus all of these, because these are all decisions, right? These versus all of these decisions. So he goes to this hand. Okay, did you bite on that? Can he explode in the other direction? Which is the other thing I'm looking for. Is, are there explosions he could be making? Because without the ability to explode, sizing up is just not worth anything, you know? So does this just look cool, or will this result in actual gameplay options, actual mind games between you and the defender? Only time will tell. But I'm bringing up these questions so that when we get our hands on the game or we get more information, we can scrutinize these things together. Okay, now with the power of pro play. Okay, before we go forward, I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but pro play is a real thing. But for those of you who are old enough to remember the Sega Genesis launched with something called blast processing, which was basically all nonsense because Sonic the Hedgehog looks like a fast game. There was another one for Super Nintendo called like Mode 7 rendering, right? If you're older and you're remembering that, I apologize for the core memory nostalgia. But understand that this is partially marketing, right? I'm not saying pro play is fake. I'm just saying now with the power of pro play, mentioning it all the time, you know, this is copy, right? This is copy. So, you know, let's not overly look into the words here. Let's focus on what the actual mechanics are. 2K25's dribble engine generates dynamic motion from real-world NBA footage to create a new and more authentic feel. It goes beyond animations and turns movement with the ball into one holistic, dynamic piece of motion, one-to-one with how players dribble in real life. Stops are tighter, launches are more explosive. And see, this is why we're doing a deep dive here. Okay, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Jersey Made. He did a really good video recently on pro play stuff. And he showed how when LeBron James's back is turned towards the, like, you know, a certain angle, that's the trigger for one of LeBron's special leaners. And now the whole thing about it only being possible with pro play and all that other stuff, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think you can put branching animations if you create them or if you don't. But I do think pro play makes it easier for them to do it because there's so many NBA players, especially when you consider, you know, when you consider all of the players coming in and out of the league all of the time, it's even more than the players on the active roster at any given moment. So all of the retirees from last year, if any of them, or let's say this year, the people who are older and got pro play stuff this year, if they retire, their pro play is still going to be in the game, which adds to the number of pro play animations you need to have beyond the current NBA roster. So I think it's more about the system making it comprehensive and quick and efficient than it is for, oh, well, you just couldn't do this with normal animation. I don't know about that. But Jersey made a great video about that with his LeBron thing. And this is a good insight into how they're looking at it. So stops are tighter. Again, shout out to Jalen Brunson. That's his entire mode of gameplay. So if there's a dribble style / motion style that allows him to stop and go much better, that's really, really huge for dribblers. Launch is more explosive. Probing the court looks and feels smoother, more lifelike, and more consistent than ever before. Okay, so, and again, I need the defense to be the counterpart. Because if I'm more lifelike and the defense is still just running into me playing, you know, Madden on defense, then I'm not happy, right? Arcade solutions for arcade problems, sim solutions for sim problems. I don't mind the game going in a sim direction as long as it's a better direction, right? I love the game being in a more sim direction. This is not a purely arcade basketball game. So, I like when you pull off something that looks like real life, you get a rush. I think some people do anyway. In fact, I've even seen comp people get excited, like, low key, like get excited about, I hit you with the KD or I hit you with the Booker step back or whatever. Like, I've seen that. I've seen the footage, guy. Like, I watch high level players and they get hyped off of that stuff. I think when that stuff is more viable, we'll have less of the divide between comp style versus ISO style versus sim style. And it'll be more like other competitive games where you just do what is effective that fits into your skill set. And who cares what you call it, as long as it works and is a good video game. As long as it's good. If it's bad, if it's something like, well, the offense is doing something defense can't keep up with, then it's bad and it needs to be changed. I don't care if it's sim or it's arcade. There are some layups that look really sim from last year, but it's like, I should be able to defend that. Why is he going through my body? Right? So it's the aesthetics of it matter less to me than the quality of it. So when I said I hope they don't try to make the game sim this year, I didn't mean I literally hope that there are no sim elements to the game. I meant I hope the game is based more on quality and what's good for the game, agnostic of whether it feels or looks a little more arcadey. If it's better, if it makes the better basketball game, I don't care what my blend of arcade to sim is. If I get a 10 out of 10 basketball game, give me that. You can have your arcade game if it's 7 out of 10. You can have your sim game if it's 8 out of 10. If my blend of arcade and sim is 10 out of 10, that's the one I want. And I think most people who play the game fit into that camp because we understand that it's a video game emulating real life. So it's never going to turn into, whatever that 3v3, former EA guys game that they're doing. It's not going to turn to NBA Street Volume 2. And it's also not going to be one-to-one to real life. It's going to be a blend, no matter what. So anyway, off my soapbox. NBA 2K24 provides more variety, accessibility, freedom on offense for newcomers, seasoned players, blah, blah, blah. Shot canceling, signature go-to shots. Okay, so let's look at this signature go-to shots. This is something I'm really interested in because they're calling it go-to shots, which makes me very curious about the power of these shots. Now, I will say, if I look at Tatum here, that's a very quick sidestep shot off of the dribble. Like in this shot right here, Halliburton too. Halliburton's another one. So this is for my team people, right? Because in my career, you can just put on the best jump shot and call it a day. But in my team, you have to deal with what the cards have. So when we look at Halliburton here, right? When we look at Tatum, we'll go to Halliburton as well. Tatum has an awesome jump shot. One of the best jumpers in the game for my team. But off the dribble, his step backs were really good. But because his dribbling wasn't that good, it made him a very limited card. Always good. I think Jason Tatum is one of those players that has been good all year, from his amethyst card. Not his amethyst, from his sapphire card all the way to his invincible. Every Jason Tatum is usable at his level and probably even above his level because he's got good height and a nice, smooth, easy release to hit. And he's a good slasher and a good defender. But shooting off the dribble and creating off the dribble is his weakness. So let's look at this animation real quick. So he dribbles right into that quick step back and right into the jumper. And this is default shot speed, by the way. Right? Let's look at that Tatum again. So let me see. 1, 2. Look at the timing on that. In fact, because of the timing of the video, we actually have, we can actually look at the timing. So let's see here. How long does that shot take? 1. So that takes from dribble to launch. It takes about it looks like just under a second, which is actually really good timing for an off the dribble jumper. Because what happens is when people are playing behind screens and say if you've been slashing, what people really like to do is run away and then run at you, run away and then run at you, right? If they're running around all the time, you never feel like their theory is you never feel safe because at any moment they can press triangle and jump at you, right? But What we've been missing is the ability to react to them running around, because shooting off the dribble for most animations is really slow when you first go up. There's like, between you pressing the button and you shooting, it just feels like there's a whole, episode of like X-Men 97 that happens between button press and animation. And so you couldn't react. Whereas when you do one of these sidestep moves, if that's your reaction, it's a bit smoother, right? So we look at Tatum. If that guy moved off and then I launched into that, I don't think he can get to it. And if it's a go-to move and has like a nice green window, that is definitely a potential game changer. And keep your eyes peeled to Jersey Made and Kevin Cruz, Dimework and Black Cobra, those guys for these mechanics. So I want to look at, we're going to ignore the Steph Curry one. I want to look at this Halliburton. Okay, this Halliburton. If you look at the space he creates, this looks a lot like Halliburton's real shot. And the thing about Halliburton, we know off the catch and shoot, he's a nightmare because of that. That release is just a jump scare. But off of the dribble, this reminds me of this year's Devin Booker step back shot a little bit. Devin Booker's step back shot is so freaking incredible, because you can be going to the basket full steam and you can hit Devin Booker's step back and he will literally moonwalk to the 3-point line. And it looks like it does in real life. Listen, traveling in real life, I want to travel in the game. That's Sim Nation, baby. But if we look at Halliburton here, look at the space created. And look at Fred VanVleet. We're going to look at that animation again. I want you guys to pay attention to Fred VanVleet on this animation right here. I don't know if that's a stun. It's a stumble backwards. He was biting on something and stumbled backwards. And look at the space between him and Halliburton. Even 2K's Superman Neo from the Matrix flying through the air shot block isn't getting to that one. If you look at the speed of the release, because Fred, his time being stuck in that animation, he doesn't snap out of it fast enough to get the jump, right? And even if that was like dark matter bowl, you can still get that. That's a shot I think you can still get off if that animation is smooth, which matters for my team players. The Halliburton cards might be better next year because that move, it says it's a go-to move. It looks like it might be a go-to move. Okay. NBA2K, we introduced dribble breakdowns to initiate a sequence of signature size-up moves that you can use to create separation and break down the defender. In 2K25, we took this concept a bit further. Holding up on the pro stick will trigger signature go-to shots, which feature some of the blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it looks like you can branch this out of, potentially branch this out of your dribble breakdown, excuse me. And I think you can trigger the shot right away by holding up. Now, important to note, because of something we'll discuss later on, the rhythm shooting feature, you won't be able to trigger this by holding down, because holding down triggers the rhythm shooting feature. So this is strictly with holding up. Very curious to see what animation that looks like and how that blends out of the dribble breakdowns. And if the dribble breakdowns are still basically, 90% immune to being ripped, because the dribble breakdowns might get a lot stronger this year with the addition of this move. And dribble breakdowns already were strong. The reason you don't see them quite as often is because they weren't that many of them that were good. That's the problem. But with this can make the dribble breakdowns better, because if you can't shoot out of the dribble breakdowns but a few certain ways, then the dribble breakdowns are all based off of slashing and the dribble move that you branch out of them with. But with shooting added to it, moves that maybe move front and back become more useful than moves that move left and right, specifically for the shooting. And the ones that move left and right might also be useful for different kind of shot blending. So this could be a really big feature for advanced shot creation. Shot canceling, we talked about this in the other video. Basically, this is already in the game. They just made it a feature instead of what was possibly a mistake, where basically you go into a shot. Before, you had to hezzy out of it, and it was kind of difficult. Whereas now, not difficult, but as far as 2K goes, it's difficult, right? 2K is not Street Fighter. But so this, now it's a feature where basically they say it's free flowing, right? I'll read this. Coupled with signature go-to shots, the Pro Play dribble movement engine Yeah, the movement engine and expanded pro play animations. This free flowing experience allows you to start a step back jumper, cancel out of the shot, move into a different dribble move, or take a driving lane to the basket. So this is what I was talking about in the other video, where basically I was saying the dynamics of the game matter a lot. How the game is played. In a game where you're going entirely for dunks and three pointers, it's really different than a game where you're also going for step backs, mid-range shots, and leaners and that stuff. If the shot diet is wider, then it's okay for the dribble moves not to be so binary, not to be so pass fail. Either I completely cracked my defender and I'm wide open, or the defense wins, right? If I have access to step backs and side steps and leaners and all of this other stuff, and mid-range shots are there and contested shots go in, then the in-between smaller victories of dribbling matter more, right? So this is a big step towards that, because if the step back jumper is something you're afraid of, and then the defense overly, reacts to it, they overreact to it, and then you can cancel out of it smoothly, you can set up some really nice sequences with that sort of idea. Here's the shot timing profiles. So actually, we're going to read this. Okay, so we received feedback from opposite ends of the spectrum on shooting this past year. Some players love the added challenge, while others found shooting to be too difficult, especially for newcomers. Guys, I shot 70% across all game modes from the three-point line as a person who was previously not a very strong shooter in the game. So I think this is a matter of 2K really needs to be good about their servers, so people are having the same experience, right? Shooting on a bad server is very different than shooting on a good server and a good connection. Shooting with certain controllers, shooting on certain TVs is going to really affect certain people, right? So some people who are playing on a monitor with say a DualSense Edge control, which I hear has the lowest latency of all PlayStation controllers, or one of the Xbox controllers like a Razer or something like that with low latency, shooting is literally easier for them, right? And then there's the skill issue beyond that, right? And of course, more skilled players are going to tend to play on more optimized equipment, which creates the gap. So basically, they have a real player percentage. We don't know which modes that's going to be in. So let's talk about the low risk reward versus normal risk reward versus high risk reward. Choosing low risk reward will provide more forgiving shot timing that emphasizes ratings, openness, and taking smart shots over the release of the button or stick. A mistimed shot could still go in, but the green make window will be smaller, making it more difficult to consistently have excellent time releases. I don't know how I feel about this. Now, I think people are going to panic a bit over this and say, oh, the skill gap is gone and it's not competitive and it's helping noobs and that kind of thing. I think that's going to be a little bit of an exaggeration, because bad players are also worse at getting open, right? You just leave them open because they're bad and they can't shoot. So it turns a game that say would be a 20-point blowout into a 50-point blowout, because if I know you can't shoot, then I can make the rest of your teammates, lives harder. And so if you have a 60% chance of making a wide open 3-point shot, then I'm going to stay home. But if you're going to only make 1 out of 4 of those shots, and I can just play the passing lanes and double team your point guard freely and recover to you really, really late, knowing that you're going to be scared to shoot, now, because of the reduced effectiveness of your teammates, that 20-point blowout, 50, 60, even 70 points. Like, I've seen crazy stuff. I think we beat one team like 130 to like 25 or something crazy. I got to look up the box scores, but like, we've had crazy box scores this year for this exact reason. Now, should we get a 50-point, 60-point blowout? Is that something we're going to look? Actually, no. Those games, you just hope the people quit, to be honest with you. That's not like in the second half of a 40-point blowout is miserable for both sides. So the thing is, it's not about the good players. It's about the bad players. The bad players having to get better at that skill set long term is better for the game. The thing about a feature like this is it could encourage bad players to stay where they are, and long term, that's not good for the game. You want, if you look at, I always bring up Overwatch and Street Fighter because I'm very familiar with those games, but you can put this on any game. If you look at the footage of Overwatch 1, even in its second year, versus now, the low ranked players in Overwatch 1 look like they're playing on Guitar Hero controllers. And the low ranked players of Overwatch 2 look like what used to be Plat. And even in some cases, Diamond if you go to Gold and Plat. So, and the same thing for Street Fighter. If you go to my main channel, well, this is my main channel now, but you go to my personal channel that I did art on, I started out doing Street Fighter tutorials, ironically, for Operation Sports Guys. And back then, people literally couldn't do a fireball. Whereas now, you go online, everybody knows how to do a fireball. Everybody knows how to do a dragon punch. What I'm saying is the skill floor of a community of a healthy competitive game is supposed to continually rise over time. You don't want to do anything to encourage people to stay at the skill floor. You just want to make being at the skill floor. And Agent 00 made a really good point about this. You want to make being at the skill floor less miserable of a gaming experience, but you don't want to make it more competitive, right? It's not that you want the people to not have to get better to enjoy the game. That's not the same thing as encouraging them not to get better. So, in this game, what would make lower level players have a better time is ranked gameplay. Most people think of ranked gameplay as more sweaty. That's the opposite of the truth. Ranked gameplay is only more competitive for highly competitive players. For everyone else, you guarantee that you don't run into pro-am teams or YouTubers or Twitch streamers and stuff like that, right? If you want to play people at your skill level, you play ranked for a week or two. The MMR system figures out where you are, and now you'll only get match made against people at your rank, right? So you'll always be playing somebody close to your skill level, but at the lower skill level, every little bit that you get better makes you way better than the people you're playing against. So if you can't shoot, that's your win condition. If your spacing of your teammates is bad, then that's your win condition. And as you go up and you fix those things, then ranked, yes, is going to get harder and harder, but you also have the reward of playing in higher level gameplay. And by and large, the most rewarding gameplay is when both people are great. That's why we watch the Olympics. That's why we watch the NBA. Nobody wants to watch two bums play. They want to watch the best of the best play. And being part of that or being closer to that is more fun. It's more stressful and it's more fun. That's why competitive players want non-matchmaking modes, right? Non-skill-based matchmaking modes where they can just go and relax and have fun. Lower competitive players should be asking for skill-based, not just skill-based matchmaking, but specifically a rank mode. Because skill-based matchmaking is kind of loosey-goosey. But a ranked mode, you can guarantee the experience you're going for within reason. I don't think a solution like this, where the game is literally easier for them, I don't think that that's an ideal solution, to be honest with you. But it's in the game, so it is what it is. Choosing high risk reward will offer more challenging shot timing with green or miss outcomes. If you're consistently good at timing your shot, you're sure to reap big rewards. So this is, this is a great example of what I'm talking about, because if you're really, in this current game, you can hit lightlies on a very regular basis if you truly understand your jumper. And a bad player who is, still learning the game is going to look at those shots and be like, they don't have access to learning that by playing the way they're playing, right? They cap themselves because they're literally, it's like, and my team players will understand this, when you play on the game on an easier difficulty, your shot is different. So if you go straight online from playing triple threat on semi-pro, or say you play Hall of Fame domination after playing triple threat or playing online, and like, oh, I actually have to shoot my shot for real now, and that's the experience that a lower ranked player or a lower skilled player is going to have with this training wheels based system. I ultimately do not think this is a good idea. I think having players be able to play people of their skill level is a much better solution than, giving them just like handouts, this kind of welfare shooting mechanics. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section on that. All right. Custom visual cues. This is actually pretty fantastic. I don't think this will be a big deal in my team, but long story short, you can select exactly where you want your visual cue to be in my career, and that's going to be absolutely fantastic. It does specifically say in NBA 2K25's My Career Jump Shot Creator, but I believe you will have the same 4 options as before, which is just fine with me. Push, squad, stand up. Pro stick rhythm shooting. So this is what we were talking about earlier. Basically, if you press down on the stick, hold it, you start your shot, and you follow the shooting motion on the way up, this will lead to some bonuses. Let's read the copy. While all shooting control methods from NBA 2K24 are returning, NBA 2K25 introduces a brand new way to shoot called Pro Stick Rhythm Shooting. Instead of simply pressing and releasing the shot button or stick, you first pull the shot stick down to start the shot. Then, as you see your player's jump shot animation reach its set point, you push the shot stick up and try to match the timing and speed of the player's push motion. The intuitive down-up motion of the shot stick rewards you for accurately mimicking each player's signature shooting motion. I think if you play now and you play one team all the time, this will be useful. Obviously, for my career people, this could be good. My prediction is in the beginning of the year, people are going to write it off and go to the square button. But as the year goes on, I think the Black Cobras of the world are going to start emerging and making shots that people who are using the square button can't hit. And then people who are using the square button are first going to probably complain, like maybe this guy has his end or he's cheating, or that shooting motion, pro stick rhythm shooting is cheese. And then maybe they'll start adapting to it, and hopefully the overall skill of the community will rise. I will say one thing that's really important about this is visual feedback. We need to be able to see what we're doing wrong when we do this. So they don't really show it here, but hopefully when we do this, it'll very clearly indicate to us, how close we are to matching that motion, because the analog stick is a fickle beast. And if you don't have something like the DualSense Edge where you can replace your analog sticks, stick drift is going to completely neutralize this. Even if you have the kind of stick drift, and I know y'all, a lot of y'all know what I'm talking about, where it's like, this controller has another month or 2 left in it. you ain't gonna get away with it with this sort of thing. All right, so a player who masters rhythm shooting will raise their ceiling and outplay someone who uses traditional shooting, creating more possibilities. Your selected shot timer profile also applies to rhythm shooting, allowing you to use a low risk. I don't like this at all. I think this should only be for high risk reward players. Low risk reward players should not have, I don't think they should have access to something to make their lower skill training wheels shooting easier. I don't love that, because that now they have 2 boosts, right? And we'll see how it plays out. No judgment here. We're just looking at the news and giving opinions, but no judgment until the game comes out. But I'm a little nervous about that. Not that they'll be great at it, because if they're lower skill players, they're not going to be great at it. I'm more concerned. And in fact, let me state this explicitly. I'm not concerned about bad players. It's more about really good players who specialize in, Klay Thompson type builds in the rec. So if you're playing against somebody who isn't that good of a shooter, but now he can be a phenomenal shooter because he's got the boost from the low risk reward thing. He's only doing catch and shoot jumpers, and he's using this. So now maybe he can shoot from limitless range because 2K has given him all of these boosts, and he's probably buying boosts too. That I don't love. Little nervous about that one. Defense. Take advantage of all new defensive mechanics. Defensive measures that'll impact your ability to lock down opponents, and be sure to visit 2K, learn 2K to improve on fundamentals. Looking forward to that. So this is the one animation they show. So they described it as you shuffling your feet and doing cutoffs, but what they show is this automatic strip down animation, which looks really good, by the way. This whole thing looks good. The basketball looks incredible here. And it's not going to be as high resolution, but in the high res, the 4K just looks really, really nice. But it looks like there will be some kind of automatic animations on top of this that happen from that. So let's see. By utilizing the right stick on defense, I feel like this was in the game before. Was this in 2K18 that the right stick on defense gave you extra stuff? Maybe I'm bugging because there was no defense in 2K18. NBA2K25 features a brand new defensive cutoff system, which might be separate from, I don't know if these two things are separate. Offensive players have long been able to dynamically change direction using the right stick, and savvy defensive players can now do the same. So it says there's a dynamic change of direction using the right stick. So it's basically right stick dribbling for defense. That's interesting. By utilizing the right stick on defense, you can control your player and quickly slide laterally in position to cut off an offensive player's attack. This is actually potentially really good news for the offense. What I've been advocating for years is if the defensive player has the ability to throw themselves out of the play because they read it wrong, that's good news for the offense because that gives you access to the effect of an ankle breaker. Because that's what an ankle breaker really is I thought you were going left. I saw you were going right. I started moving left. And now I want to tell my body to move right. And my body says, nah, buddy, you made a choice and we're sticking to it. And then you hit the deck, right? That's where ankle breakers come from. In a video game, I don't need you to hit the deck, but I do need to be able to outright fool you. And one of my bigger criticisms of 2K24 is that was extremely rare because the defense was so based on hanging out in a zone and then either attaching to someone or pressing triangle or Y after you got beat. Pressing square early, triangle late, right? Or X early, Y late. Shout out to my Xbox people. So this is a boost to positional defense, but this also gives you enough rope to hang yourself with, which is great if it works well. So this is one of the more exciting things I've read in this blog so far. All right. Contest system. This is a big one. For NBA 2K25, we made significant changes to the contest system. You bet it had. We now use a dynamic weighting system rather than a fixed one that evaluates the impact of defense at the start of the shot versus the release and computes the proper coverage impact accordingly. Before we go to the next paragraph, that's important because positional defense is about where you are at the start of the shot. But the way 2K24 is, as long as you can stick your hand anywhere in the invisible cloud of the offensive player, you can get a red contest. So if you're standing in front of somebody, it's hand down, man down. But if you're halfway across the court and you jump at somebody, it's a 78% contest. That made no sense whatsoever. It was complete bizarro world and terrible. And speaking of the AI, which is in the next part, the AI didn't even have to be in front of you. They could stick their hands into the general area near the side of you or at your waist as the ball was almost completely out of your hands, being nowhere near your player's line of sight, and get a contest, even a red contest, or 35, 40% being nowhere between you and the basket, playing absolutely terrible defense, just sliding into a nonsense contest. And in the stream, he said it'll better reflect what you see. Yeah, he was reading that. Okay, so let's read the next paragraph. In addition, you'll notice that the perimeter and interior defensive ratings, ooh, that's huge from my career, as well as height differential, play a more important role in calculating defensive coverage. These changes better reflect what you see happening on screen and reward your strong defensive sequences to decrease the competition's chances of converting their shots. All right, so this is huge news for all game modes because this is a heavy advantage for wings, right? So wings are taller, better wingspans, and they have high perimeter defense ratings, and they can have high interior defense ratings. Bigs tend to have lower perimeter defense ratings, and my team, if they are trying to make my team a good mode this year, which is no guarantee, the bigs will have lower perimeter defense throughout the year, the same way the guards have lower interior defense. And this will allow you to shoot over bigs, and bigs with their late contests should be worse on defense, at least until the All-Star game when things go a little crazy in my team, if this is handled properly. All right. So this could be very big for wings and will push guards and centers into their specialties, which is great because centers are way better at finishing inside, rebounding, and stopping interior stuff. So they should be weaker on the perimeter. Guards are really good at creating and making three-point shots and stealing the ball. So wings should be the best of both worlds without the peaks in each of the world, ideally, and so a team of all wings should be reasonably viable the same way it is in real life, right? We used to joke about the Atlanta Hawks. All they want is every player to be 6'8". Anyway, AI gameplay. All right, my team people, this is a sore spot. I'm not going to get too into detail here, but suffice to say, I think the AI gameplay was, from a gameplay standpoint, not thinking about microtransactions, was the worst thing about 2K24. 2K24's AI gameplay to me was inexcusable, not fun, all around terrible, and I have nothing nice to say about it. So hopefully we see some massive improvements here. I will say as a caveat, I think freelancers are brilliant and one of the greatest additions to basketball in gaming history, but the individual behavior of the AI players was horrible in this commentator's opinion. So to make AI play a more complementary role in NBA 2K25, that's interesting language, a more complementary role. We made improvements to court spacing, offense, defense, coaching, and the AI difficulty. This is important too. To elevate your overall experience, take a look at some of the key changes below. Before we read this, I want to comment on this. And the AI difficulty. So the way the AI treated difficulty in this current game in 2K24, going back to the shot contest system, the AI basically said, I don't have to be anywhere near you and I get a contest. I don't care if you screen me. I'm just going to morph through that like Agent Smith, right? I'm just going to zip around that as if it doesn't exist. And that's the way I'm going to play. I'm just going to be able to slide into you and run into you and slam into you and match your movements perfectly whenever I decide. And the rules don't apply to me. That was the way difficulty was. Difficulty had nothing to do with the AI really trying to cook you, the AI making choices, the AI really picking up on your tendencies. It was very binary. If you're good at shooting, I'm going to slam into you from behind the line. If you're bad at shooting, I'm going to sag way, way off and not play you until you make a couple of shots and now see point A. All right. Our new spacing engine has over 20 adjustment locations from inside the three-point line that feeds AI a constant stream of spacing information yielding real life-like results. Okay, this is important because even in freaking triple threat, the AI is just running into the paint and staying there. And that was the thing that got me, was the fact that they would be in a position where if they did something a normal person would do, they would have a wide open three, but instead they either stay there or move back in, or they'd be running some nonsense triple threat freelance that doesn't work and you have no option to opt out of. Really, it was really, really bad. In terms of by default, you couldn't just say, don't do that. You'd have to physically run a play like pass and screen away or isolation to get them to stop running into the paint like idiots in a 3v3 game. So individual freelance has also been redesigned to account for this new spacing engine. This is a tech speak, really, because basically overall in 2K, there's a lot of things where if they change one thing about the game, the rest of the game has to adjust for it, and like just it takes tons of man hours. That's why a lot of times people are like, it's just a small fix, all you do is this. No, because if they change one little thing over here, then an entire other department has to recalibrate for that to fit in and not break the game. So it's interesting that they put that in a bullet point, because this really is like inside baseball. This extends to the tech that drives AI double team reactions to increase the priority of spacing during double teams. Oh my God. I have been begging for this. When you get double teamed and your AI teammates play ring around the rosy to help create the turnover for the other team, that is, listen, I play on the DualSense Edge. That joint costs almost $200, and I want to push it through my monitor when that happens, because I've been begging for it to stop and it's never stopped. And I never understood why they simply just didn't do that. Just stay still when I get double teamed so I can pass it to open person. Don't start cutting around like idiots. I'm sorry, I'm ranting now because I'm triggered. I'm triggered and I'm angry and I'm hurt. I'm hurt from years of abuse. So you have to excuse me. But yeah, so this should be a good positive thing. And I will say overall, on the language of all of this, I want to extend credit where credit is due. 2K is doing a much better job of communicating this year and not treating their community like babies. And listen, I know Twitch chat is going to be a cesspool and really toxic and crazy, and it's going to take time, but I would love it if we elevated the conversation so that when 2K talks to us like adults, we speak to them in return like adults. Offense, we revamped our cut to the basket logic for the AI to lessen untimely cuts to the rim, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so just less of that annoying stuff. Defense, a redesign of our defensive help logic, allowing for better pursuit angles and rotation. This is interesting because I think for the most part, everybody just turns defensive help off because it's so bad that people just start running in from the three-point line to help on driving attacks that have nothing to do with them. And it's basically a three-point corner simulator when you have help defense on, and so everybody turns it off. I would love for logical, usable help defense to be in the game. Coaching, players now have the ability to save and share their playbooks. This is huge if it's in my team. Now, playbooks are something you can buy with MT, and I suppose technically they can still be in the game. I guess not really buy it, but like you can sell them for MT when you get them. I would be ecstatic if in my team there were no playbooks. Like there were playbooks, but you could design your own playbook and never have to deal with them. I want to run my offense. I don't want to run some default package of offense, you know? So if I like half the stuff from the Denver stuff and a third of the stuff from New York and a third of the stuff from the Bucks playbook, let me do that. You know, let us be creative, and that's competition, right? That's what allows creative expression and competition. AI difficulty. AI difficulty is now based on more than just shooting percentages. Lower difficulties will experience less aggressive offense and defense and make fewer strategy changes or adjustments. This is great because I'm wondering why on semi-pro and pro difficulty, the AI is picking me up behind the half-court line and freaking triple threat. This is a grind mode where I'm supposed to win 400 games to get Tim Duncan. Not that I'm doing that. But, you know, you want people to win 400 games to get Tim Duncan and 100 games to get DeMar DeRozan. You guard me full court the whole time on pro? No. That's just annoying. It doesn't make it harder. It just makes it more annoying, you know? We scaled on-ball defensive delays per difficulty, so attacking the basket on a lower-level AI is easier, including increased body-up win resolutions for easier blow-bys. This is actually massive. So one of my bigger criticisms for 2K's AI defense is that they don't have reaction time. They react to your button presses. Scaling the on-ball defensive delays per difficulty gives them the freedom. This is important. I know this is a long video. This is for the true hardcore folks out there. I get that. But this is important. This gives 2K the freedom to tweak online AI difficulty in my team in particular. This is really, really important because in the rec, they go down to an 85 overall defensive. Player. If you play with an AI in the rec, right? That's fixed. So that AI is, if they are what they are, and whatever the person, if somebody drops out and their AI is there, whatever they were as a defender, that's fixed. In my team, it's sliding all year. Early in the year, you're going to be playing versus Sapphire and Ruby cards, and then later in the year, you're going to be playing Invincibles and Dark Matters, right? And GOAT cards. Those cards, when those cards are all in play, online difficulty needs to be adjusted on the defensive end so that, you know, Invincible Giannis cannot be the off-ball defense solution to gameplay. That's not cutting it. You know, if you have Invincible Giannis, pick up your controller and play defense. You shouldn't be able to just be like, sick 'em, boy, and now Invincible Giannis is just, you know, the super mutant attaching to people. And you're talking to a person who's pretty good at cooking the AI, but I'm not talking about winning and losing. I'm talking about the fact that that's just not fun. You don't feel like you're playing versus a person. You feel like you're there in spectator mode while you play versus the AI. And going online and doing that is just not a fun experience. Even when you win, it's just not fun. Okay, learn 2K. So we talked about this before. Long story short, much better tutorial. If they're going to invest in the tutorial, I would love for this community to invest into using the tutorial, learning what's in there, encouraging them to invest more into tutorial so that we get better tutorials over time. Because obviously this is their first real tutorial, so it's not going to be perfect. So we'll see what they included, what they didn't include, the language they use, the interactivity of it, how they can improve it. But this could go long term a long way to making the 2K community a much better place to be. Because the better the community gets at the game, the less nonsense they ask for. People always complain, oh, Mike Wang listens to the casuals. Well, part of the solution, not that I even believe that that's true, but part of the solution to quote unquote casuals ruining the game, for all of you quote unquote experts out there who say that, is for the casuals to improve. And in every other video game, in fact, every other game, the general person gets better at the game over time, because that's how humanity works, right? Humanity's better at guitar now than they were in 1968. I don't care how much you love Jimi Hendrix. That's just true. Jimmy's still great, but the average part, there are 8-year-olds who can play Jimi Hendrix, when back then people like Clapton was looking at him going, how do you do that, right? That's just the way humanity works. We get better at things over time. So the more the company can facilitate us getting better at this, the better the game's going to be. So I applaud this. Let's see, now that you've learned all about gameplay enhancements and blah, 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 it's time to get your hands on and practice. Okay, yada, yada, yakety schmackety. Closing remarks, the VC team worked tirelessly to make all of the gameplay changes. Be on the lookout for more. So, okay, whatever. So thanks, guys. Good job. Good job. So, yeah, so that will finally close it out for this. That is my feedback and breakdown for this so far. I'm actually ecstatic with the Courtside report. Sorry about that. And the way that they have released information so far in the beginning of this rollout. I think this has been fantastic. And yeah, I hope we get more great communication like this. I'm not optimistic about it. I think once there are microtransactions in the game, everybody's going to run and hide like normal. But let's enjoy the improvement in communication in all of its forms. This is an improvement. It's okay to acknowledge that. And I'm definitely 100% doing so. And I hope that you guys, have a similar reaction in terms of being able to look at this fairly without looking at this with all of the resentments from 2K24. As bad as they were in 2K24 with a lot of things, it's going to be a new year. And, I want us to acknowledge the new so that when they either A, go back on their word, or B, do things that we don't like from the past, we can draw a hard line. I think a big mistake that gaming communities make is only talking about the negative. Developers need negative and positive feedback. They need to know what you like and what you don't like. If you only tell them what you don't like, you don't leave them with anything to do. Whereas if they put something in the game that you really like and then they take it out, they go, oh, we didn't get any good data that people like that feature. Well, that's on the community, right? So, they have their own data, but we also play a big role in providing that data. So hopefully we provide the data that this elevated communication is something we prefer to the buzzword, no offense to him, but like Ronnie 2K celebrity jargon, Twitter stuff that we normally get that tells us nothing about the game. This right here was more information about the game than we usually get until the game is actually just about to be out. And we're still just over a month away from the game releasing. And we've gotten this much stuff to talk about, which I'm very excited to continue this conversation. So thanks, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. For those of you who watched this whole thing, I applaud you. I'll see you in the next one. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Peace.